All right, so yesterday we had some heated testimony that was happening yesterday in Washington, D.C. Kristi Noem was asked about habeas corpus and yada, yada, yada. And I don't think anybody knows really what habeas corpus is. I mean, it was never on my top 10 things to learn about, but it is so important. And when you understand what it is, you're like, oh, yeah, of course that's important. So let's talk about it, because this is the argument that's going on, whether the judges, should have to hear everybody's case or not. And we've got 4 years backlog. I have a solution for all of this. But first, let me just go into what it is. Now, imagine you're at home one night and there's a knock at the door. And there's men in uniforms, and they barge in, nothing of substance. They don't say anything. They grab you. They drag you away. You're locked in a cell. You don't get a phone call. You don't get charges. You don't have a trial. Days pass, weeks pass, months pass. You don't even know what you're accused of. That's not something from a dystopian movie or something from World War II alone. This is what life was like in most of human history. And it's what life is still like under authoritarian regimes today. This is why when it says, and among those rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We don't even know what liberty really means anymore, but the key to liberty really is habeas corpus. Because what they're saying is, life and liberty, nobody can come in the middle of the night, take you, and shoot you. Without a fair trial, nobody can execute you. Liberty, nobody can come in the middle of the night, knock your door down, take you, not charge you, not tell you what you're charged, not give you a chance to defend yourself. Okay? So this is, it's actually, habeas corpus is Latin for you shall have the body, which is weird. Sounds like maybe, I don't know, a spell from Harry Potter or something like that. But it is more of a key. It's the key that unlocks the cell door. Not necessarily to let you out, but to drag you and your jailer into the light and force the jailer to explain why you're being held. If due process is the courtroom, then habeas corpus is the front door to that courtroom. No one gets to lock you away and throw away the key unless they can prove to a neutral judge that you actually belong there. And if they can't, the courts say, let them free. Now, it's not a get-out-of-jail-free card. It is the demand, prove it or release them. Okay. Remember that. Prove it or release them. Now, do I need to even go into the history? It's, from 1600s, and it's like, I don't think. Here's why it still matters. Imagine a world without habeas corpus, without that key that unlocks the jail cell that says, prove it or let them go. The government or even a rogue agency could arrest you on suspicion, detain you indefinitely, never file charges, never bring you to trial. It's not abstract, it's real. And this is what the Democrats are arguing right now. They're saying, where's habeas corpus for these people? I'm going to get to this here in a second. If you can take political dissidents, people who disagree, anybody, and you can vanish them, put them in prison or ship them overseas, Guantanamo Bay or whatever, you have a problem. And habeas corpus is supposed to be for U.S. citizens and persons in the U.S., a firewall. Your rights, this is going to become even more important because your rights, like your personal data, habeas corpus is the firewall. Without it, your civil liberties can be hacked without any warning, without any recourse. They can just go in and just hack you. And you don't even know something's wrong until it's far too late. And this is why you should care. It doesn't matter if you're innocent or law-abiding. It's not about guilt or innocence. This is all about procedure, forcing the state and everyone involved in the state to play by the rules. You may never need it, but the moment it's gone, everyone is in trouble. It's like the fire extinguisher on the wall. Have you ever used one? Have you ever been in a building where you're like, quick, where's the fire extinguisher? I never have. but I want it there in case I need it. Okay? Somebody lights this fire, tyranny, corruption, revenge. You have to have this fire extinguisher close to you on every wall. Thomas Jefferson said, the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. Habeas corpus is part of that vigilance. Okay? It's not just a legal relic and a Latin phrase that none of us really know about. It cannot be that. It's not dusty. It is a living shield crafted by centuries of experience of what totalitarian leaders do. And it is the only shield that you have if you want to remain a free people. And it must never, ever be taken for granted. Okay? You lose it and you have no justice. You keep it and the flame of freedom burns even in the darkest of cells. Okay? Now, we have all these people here. All these people who came illegally. And, you know, if you listen to what Donald Trump said, let me see if I have this. Donald Trump posted yesterday, Joe Biden was not for open borders. He never talked about open borders where criminals of all kinds, shapes, and sizes can flow into our country at will. It was his idea to open the border and almost destroy our country and cost us hundreds of billions of dollars to get criminals out of our country and go through the process we're going through now. It was the people that knew he was originally cognitively impaired that took over the auto pen. They stole the presidency of the United States and put us in great danger. This is treason at the highest level. They did it to destroy our country. The Joe Biden that everybody knew wouldn't have allowed drug dealers, gang members, and mentally insane to come into our country totally unchecked and unvetted. All anyone has to do is look up his record. Something very severe should happen to those treasonous thugs that want to destroy our country, but couldn't because I came along. Okay. I'm not sure if he was that cognitively impaired at the beginning. I think he made a deal with the devil, with, you know, literally the devil in the extreme left. Maybe he was impaired. Maybe they went around him. That is absolutely possible. That's why it has to be investigated. And if they did do that, anybody who was using the auto pen without him knowing, anybody who was covering this up, his health and putting our country in danger, taking the power away from the president and assuming it themselves or allowing somebody else to assume that without people knowing about it is treason. It is treason. And it must be corrected. If it happened, they have to go to jail. But I want habeas corpus. I want the government, if they scoop up somebody, I want the government to have to make that case. Make the case. Make it in a fair court of law. And then let the chips fall where they may. Okay? It has to be done that way. But the problem is the Constitution a suicide pact? I don't believe it is. I don't believe just because we got together and we all signed on to this Constitution. If the government is now, let's say New York and California begin to collapse under their own weight because in California, I'm going to talk about it later, California is now saying they're going to have to raise taxes because they want to put everybody on, you know, government assistance and health care. Oh, okay. Well, that's not going to work out well for you, California. It's not. It's not. And I'm not paying the bill. And if California and New York do that, what's going to happen? They're going to go under, and they're going to drag all of us under with them. I'm sorry. I'm not part of that. I don't want to be part of that, and I don't think any red state, and if it was reversed and red states were doing it, I don't think any blue state should have to go along with that insanity and be sucked into the sinkhole that they are dragging us all into. No. I live in Texas for a reason. I live in Idaho for a reason. I don't want that insanity. Okay. So how do we deal with this if we want to keep habeas corpus alive? Because remember, you have to remain faithful to the rule of law. Once we shake the rule of law and say, yeah, but this is a different exception, then we're complicit in the collapse of the republic. Okay? We do it. So let's walk through what is happening on our borders, what the Democrats are doing to our courts, how habeas corpus is being used as a weapon against us, and how to solve that. Okay, we'll walk through it logically and morally and constitutionally in 60 seconds. First, let me tell you about our sponsor this half hour. It's Lear Capital. Lear Capital would like to remind you, let me rephrase it. I would like to remind you that your dollar is losing money. When you see, if you listen to the whole show today or podcast today, you will hear what's happening in England, what Starmer just did. They've just destroyed Brexit. They're just dragging them back into the EU. When you see what Australia is doing with their tax base, when you see what Washington State is doing, we have financial problems that it's a tsunami coming our way. Look at what's happening with our big beautiful bill. $5 trillion added because of the big beautiful bill, because Congress didn't do their job. This is a problem. It's going to be a problem. So let me tell you about Lear Capital. The difference between panic and preparation. Panic is what people do after the storm hits, but preparation is stuff that usually, like, think of Noah and Noah's Ark. Rain is coming. Hey, guys, you should prepare. Nobody's preparing. He's building a boat in the middle of, he's not building it even by the water. Imagine how much fun they made of him. Well, look how that worked out. You are looking now, if you look at the global stage, you are seeing the curtain about to come down on the global financial order, and we have to do everything we can to prepare ourselves. Look at the price of gold now. If you would have listened to, my warnings before, you would have been in gold at about $200 an ounce. It's now up to almost $3,500. It's $3,300 or $3,400 last night I saw. That's an insane amount. Insane. We don't ever want gold to go up from there. But it's going to, because the dollar is going down. The people that can help you with that is Lear Capital. So I want you to go to Lear Capital now. Please call them today at 800-957-GOLD, 800-957-GOLD. Get your free $4,200 gold report, 1-800-957-GOLD. Ask them about getting $15,000 in free gold or silver with qualifying purchase. Call them now, 800-957-GOLD. 10 seconds, station ID. Before we get into the solution, let me hear how Kristi Noem handled this yesterday in front of Congress.
Secretary Noem, what is habeas corpus?
Well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from this country and suspend their right to.
Let me stop you, ma'am. Habeas corpus, excuse me, that's incorrect.
President Lincoln used it.
Excuse me. Mm-hmm. Habeas corpus is the legal principle that requires that the government provide a public reason for detaining and imprisoning people. If not for that protection, the government could simply arrest people, including American citizens, and hold them indefinitely for no reason. Habeas corpus is
So she didn't answer that well at all, okay? Habeas corpus is a protection for persons. This is where it's going to get really dicey. And this is what the Democrats know. And make no mistake, this is part of the Cloward and Piven thing. They're playing this beautifully. They knew what they were doing when they brought all these people in. They know what they're doing now. They're overwhelming the legal system. So hear me out. Constitution, according to the 5th and 14th Amendment, refers to persons, not citizens. And that was intentional. The founders understood the basic due process has to apply to all human beings that are under U.S. jurisdiction, citizen or not, open borders or not. This is a Western tradition, and they did it intentionally. However, here's the catch that Noem should have been all over yesterday. Due process does not mean indefinite presence, endless appeals, the right to stay. All it means is the government says, this is why. You have a case to say, no, I'm here because I'm being persecuted in my own country. Let me hear that. Okay. Nope. Out. Okay. It is not a promise of the courtroom in all cases. It just has to be done constitutionally. The system has been sabotaged right now. right now, habeas corpus is being weaponized. Today's immigration courts, the backlog is not the fault of the Constitution. It is the result of deliberate sabotage, bureaucratic inertia, bad laws, activist judges, all of this. They have now 3.3 million cases that are now pending. The average wait time for your case to be heard is 4 years. Some areas have court dates for these people as far out as 2032. Now, where's the justice in that? Again, the Constitution is not a suicide pact. It's not justice. This is a mockery of justice. You don't have the right to exploit the system until the system breaks. And yet that's exactly what the left is doing. And the political class is letting it happen. This is not compassion for the people who are here illegally or the people who are here legally. This is national self-destruction. So, how do we balance the Constitution with survival? What does a constitutional conservative do? Do you abandon the Constitution because this time it's different? No. Do you embrace emergency authoritarianism? No. You never burn the house down to kill the rats. But you also don't stand still while the nation is bleeding out. So here's what we do. There has to be a tiered approach, and we've already done much of this, okay? The Constitution gives Congress the power over immigration. Illegal presence is not a protected right. The federal government can deny entry, repatriate, refuse asylum claims under broad discretion. Congress can do that. They can enforce expedited removal for those clearly not qualifying for asylum, already authorized by law, but deliberately underused. So Congress has all kinds of things they can do. Is Congress going to do any of those things? No. So what do we do? Well, you can declare the border a national security emergency zone, just as we do in war zones and disaster areas. You can establish military administered logistical hubs for triage, not detention for all, but processing outside of the overwhelmed court system for certain cases. So in other words, we can send everybody down. The government can appoint the military to establish these courts. He can also appoint new judges just for this and say, you're down at the border or you're down at airports, you're down wherever, and you're going to line them up and you're going to say, tell me your case. Here's what you're charged with. Tell me your case. Nope, you don't receive asylum. Out. Okay, I heard your case. Yes, I think you're an exception. You're in. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out thing. It doesn't, okay? Also, we need to keep the Remain in Mexico principle. This is not anti-constitutional. It's pro-stability. Asylum seekers have to apply from the outside, okay? That way, the border is no longer the courtroom. So there's a couple of other things. The immigration courts, the state enforcement power, and the most important thing we can do, reframing this as a moral argument, not just a habeas corpus argument that nobody can argue because nobody understands it. You do now, and you're going to understand how to argue all of this and reframe it coming up.
This is Glenn Beck.
Well-lit parking lot, right in the middle of the afternoon. You don't think twice about walking through it, but somebody is waiting there for you. Somebody's waiting there, out there, hidden among the cars. When he comes for you, he comes fast. Instinctively, you reach into your bag, you pull out your Byrna launcher. Looks like a handgun. That should stop him, but it's not. It fires non-lethal rounds filled with pepper or tear gas. Hits the man hard enough to stop him in his tracks. In fact, he literally crumples to the ground, whimpering, clawing at his eyes because it's tear gas. You only had to be within 6 feet. You don't have to be accurate. You don't have to hit him in the chest. You just have to be within 6 feet. Anything within 6 feet when that thing hits, they're down on the ground. Okay, and that gives you time to call the police. The guy is going to be put into a lot of pain for a long while, and he's probably not going to like jail too much either. But you know what? He'll live. Thanks to Byrna. You can have protection without the regret. That's what Byrna is all about. Byrna.com, Byrna.com. Get a free 5-year no-hassle warranty with every launch or order. Use their retail store locator to find the nearest location offering live demonstrations, including Sportsman's Warehouse, Byrna retail stores, and authorized premium dealers. Byrna.com.
Stay informed with Glenn's free email newsletter covering every story we discuss on the show. Sign up now for free at glennbeck.com.
Okay, so here's really how to fix this problem of the immigration. And the reason why I'm talking about this today is because I found myself in Kristi Noem's position yesterday. I was talking to Congressman Ro Khanna, who is on the left. He seems to be a reasonable guy, not his policies. I think his policies are insane. But he loves the country, and he believes he's doing the right thing, and he believes in the Bill of Rights and everything else. And so I can have a conversation with somebody like that. And I was talking to him, and he brought up, scooping people up in the middle of the night in habeas corpus. And I said, and he said, so what's your answer to that? And I said, well, we're in kind of an emergency situation. We've been intentionally flooded and invaded, with the help of people in our own and, the obstruction of Congress. But because I wasn't sure, I said, I think it's something we should talk about and have an actual conversation about. Instead of saying, we're having the conversation now, and I'm really uninformed enough to feel confident in myself. And so I wanted to make sure I was confident in it, and I think you need to be as well. That's why I started with, what is habeas corpus? Habeas corpus, just think of it as the key that opens up that dark jail cell where people are been thrown in and forgotten about. Okay? That habeas corpus is the key. I have a right to know why I'm in here. I have a right to a hearing and charges and everything else. So that's all habeas corpus is a key. And it's interesting because if you look at what habeas corpus is and how it was put in our Constitution, here's what it says. This is Article 1, Section 9 of the U.S. Constitution. It says, the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended. Now, when something says shall not be, what does that mean? That means no way, shape, or form. Okay? Now, they don't get that on the Second Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, but they seem to get it on this one. The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended, but it's not a period, as they always do. It's a comma. Unless, in cases of rebellion or invasion, the public safety may require it. So that is what Donald Trump is making the argument on. Okay, he's making the argument, I am following the Constitution. I don't have to do this because we've been invaded. That's why everybody on the left, early on, remember when they first come in, and we were all saying, this is an invasion. And they're like, this isn't an invasion. How dare you say this is an invasion? An invasion means guns. And you're like, what the hell are you even talking about? They knew Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. They already game planned this well in advance. Okay? That's why they're saying this wasn't an invasion. But it was an invasion. And it was carefully plotted and planned not only by globalists, because look what's happening over in Europe. It's no coincidence that this is happening over in Europe as well, but also people in our own government. Okay. So what do we do about this? Well, the president can just suspend habeas corpus. He doesn't want to do that because nobody knows what it is. Nobody has ever read the Constitution. So they'll just go, he's a fascist. See what he's doing? No, he's not. Constitution allows it. Invasion. So what is he doing? Well, Congress is, the judges are all saying, well, no, he can't do this. We have to make the case. Okay, so let's do that. Let's do that. But again, I believe this requires Congress to do it because this is Article 1. Congress can authorize special temporary courts to hear immigration cases swiftly. So you don't remove habeas corpus, you don't remove judicial review, you just accelerate it. There is no reason, the Constitution with habeas corpus does not mean endless hearings, endless trials, long waiting periods, all of that. See, remember, you are guaranteed the right to a speedy trial. A trial date that is out in 2032, that's not a speedy trial, which means that's not justice. This time, it may be justice for you because people will forget about you by 2032. But it is not justice. Remember, justice requires all sides to be satisfied, mercy and justice, okay? It's not justice for the people who live here in America. It's not the justice for people who came here legally. It's not justice for people whose kids might be killed because of some gang, all right? That doesn't work. So I believe, and I'm not an attorney, but I believe that the president could appoint special judges to come in, legitimate, do everything legitimate, and hear the immigration cases swiftly. Yeah, great. What is the 2 steps that you have to be for asylum, Stu? There's 2 things that you have to prove, right?
Right, because a lot of times they're like, oh, asylum. Well, if you are being harassed by gangs in your town, like you got to be able to. So that's not one of the tests at all, actually. There's a 2-step test. First has to be, what are the grounds of your persecution? Not just that you're persecuted, but what are the grounds for your persecution? Has to be one of these 5 categories.
My government has come out against all Christians. I'm a Christian. My government has come out against all Muslims. I'm a Muslim.
Right. Religion is one of them. Race is one of them. A nationality is one of them. Political opinion.
Hang on just a second. Wait a minute, because let's not forget South Africa. I'm sorry. What is one of the reasons?
Race, religion, nationality. Race. By the way,
race.
One of the reasons I was looking into this was because of the South Africa situation. They fit this completely. Like they are completely perfectly aligned with exactly.
The white farmers are perfect for this, for habeas corpus and the asylum. Perfect for it. Fit it exactly.
Yeah, it's funny because they keep talking about how, they can't, why would you allow them in? Well, they actually check the legal boxes quite well. So it's race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group are the 5 grounds. So you have that as test number 1. If you pass that test number 1, there's a test number 2, which there has to be a specific government failure. So it's not just that you are persecuted. It has to be that the government has failed you to avoid that persecution, or perhaps
I've done everything I can. I've tried to go to my government. I've tried through the court system. I've tried, and the government has failed me.
Yeah.
So that's what these. Go ahead.
Yeah, just to finish that up. So it has to be that your home government is unable or unwilling to protect you, and or they can't safely relocate you in the country. So if you're in, you think about a country like. Again, you have these situations where the entire government breaks down or the government is the one persecuting. It's a lot easier to check those boxes. But those are things that we can be aware of in advance, right? Like we know if, we, for example, know about South Africa and what the government's doing. They're passing laws to take the land. They're allowing some of this violence. It seems like sometimes cheering it on. So that would be something that would check these boxes quite clearly. If just because, the case we talked about with the guy who was sent to El Salvador, he was saying that his mom's pupusa stand, right, was being hit by gangs. That doesn't check these boxes at all.
No. So all you have to do is expand the courts, and you put them at the place of entry or departure. Let me hear your case. Do you hit these 2? Nope. Thank you. Bye. You wait a minute. You hit these 2, or at least there's a serious question that you hit you hit both of these. Great. You stand over there. We're going to put you into another system and another court to actually hear more of that case. You don't need anything else but that. You just need to hear, do you fit those things? Okay? Now, all we have to do is have a surge court core, if you will, and expedite all of these hearings, because it doesn't work to overwhelm the system. That is the suicide pill that they know they're doing. You have to de-emphasize illegal entry. You have to expand the state enforcement power where you can, massively expand Article 1 immigration courts. I think Congress has to do that, but I'm not an attorney. I hope the president also has that ability, just like he did in the Civil War, and as FDR wrongly suspended habeas corpus for the Japanese. Okay? This president can take habeas corpus and suspend it, and then it's done. But I would prefer, and I think he would prefer, that we, stop the weaponization of the court system and find a way to get this to happen quickly. Now, here's what we do. We have to reframe this whole thing. First of all, the Constitution is not a suicide pact. Do you think everybody would agree with that? If we decided we could come after all transgender people and the Constitution, it was there, and you lived in San Francisco, would you have to put up with that? You're in California, and everybody is all trans? Would you have to stay a part of that union? Would you have to follow that? No, you wouldn't. It's not a suicide pact. Because one state does it and it's destroying it. We don't have to do that. Okay? It's a covenant. It is a contract with the living and the unborn. And we cannot honor that covenant by allowing its deliberate abuse. We know this is deliberately being abused, so we cannot allow that. You can't protect liberty by handing the keys to the people who just broke in through the back door. You can't also offer fairness to the world if we destroy that house. So how do we do it? You can't preserve the republic by abandoning its moral core. We have to be just but firm. So, first, we act out of resolve, not rage. You fix the courts. You accelerate justice. You respect the personhood of all, but the citizenship of the few. You rewrite laws if needed, but you do not ignore the laws. You start to enforce the laws that are already on the book. And when political leaders refuse to act, we organize, legislate, litigate, and vote as if your Western civilization depends on it, because it does. A government without the power to defend its own laws ceases to be a government at all. That's what the founders said. Our job is to remember that, to educate ourselves, know what it is, reframe the argument in the correct framing. Stop using their frame to talk about this. You know the frame now. That's what we must do. That's what we're fighting for. We're not fighting against. We're fighting for. Back in a minute. If you've ever had a professionally installed home security system, then you know the drill, literally the drill. The hours on the phone, the 5-hour service window, the guy's tracking mud through your house just to drill a hole into like maybe the side of your fireplace that you're like, wait a minute, what did you just do? You don't want any of that, okay? You want something that like IKEA that has instructions that actually make sense, that you could set up yourself in 30 minutes and you wouldn't have all these parts left over and you're like, wait a minute, what? You want something that can be done through a simple app. Unlike those contract lock systems, Simply Safe does not trap you into anything, just month-to-month monitoring, backed by 24/7 emergency response. You can have somebody come in and install it, but you're going to want to do it because it's really simple, really simple. One of the best systems from CNET and all these, CNBC, all these other people say, this is the one to go with. I have it in my house, Simply Safe. SimplySafe.com/Beck. Claim 50% off the system with professional monitoring plan. Get your first month for free. It's SimplySafe.com/Beck. There is no safe like Simply Safe.
This is Glenn Beck.
Coffee, it just doesn't even seem to be coffee anymore. It's now like some big statement you're making. You get kind of like your coffee bundled with corporate values that don't match your own at all. Blackout Coffee offers something a little bit different. It is a better alternative. Family-owned American company focusing on quality, and coffee lovers nationwide have taken notice. They transform premium beans into exceptional coffee into their American facilities. Got a bunch of different varieties. They have the dark roast delivering boldness without compromise. They've got medium blends offering complexity without pretension. They have specialty flavors enhancing all that instead of, trying to overdo it, right? Like you don't want necessarily the natural coffee character to be overwhelmed. They have instant varieties, which is nice and easy, robust flavor when the time is tight. They've got the cold brew cans you can just grab when you need it. Every product reflects their commitment to excellence. Thousands of 5-star reviews show that Americans appreciate businesses that align with traditional values while delivering superior products. We talk about this stuff all the time. It's important to align your values. Supporting companies that share your principles often means better quality in your daily ritual. So for busy mornings when time matters, their instant varieties and ready-to-drink cold brew are going to give you the same that you want. It's called blackoutcoffee.com/blaze, blackoutcoffee.com/blaze.
Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. I want to talk to you a little bit about Mercury One and what they're doing. 2025 was an incredible year for Mercury One. We continue to be on the ground in so many communities all across the nation because we have always made the promise we'd be the first there, or the first with supplies for those first responders, and we'd be the last out. And that we're still in Afghanistan and we are still in Lahaina, but those things are wrapping up. And they should be done this year. Now, we had massive tornadoes all over the country and real damage in Kentucky, Missouri, Kansas, and elsewhere. Mercury One was on the ground within a couple of hours after those hurricanes hit in those 3 states. We were there with food, helping clear out the debris, handing out the warm meals for those who just didn't have a home anymore. These are extraordinarily expensive to do, and we look at your dollar, your donation, as sacred money. We know how hard you work for your money. We know how hard it is to just make ends meet at the end of the month. So we look at that dollar and we make sure. I mean, we audit by law, I think, once a year. We audit a second time just because I want to make sure every dime is going exactly where we say it goes. So please, help us out if you will. We are having a quick fundraiser, a maximum impact campaign. It ends on Friday. Our goal is to raise $50,000 by Friday. We're under halfway there. They started this Monday. I haven't talked about it yet. This is the first time I'm alerting you of it. Please, if you can, help us. This is not a big goal, but this is when disaster hits. This is what makes sure there's planes on the ground either from us or we're paying for the fuel or we're loading that plane or we're doing whatever. But when the first people arrive, Mercury One is there. One way or another, we are there. And that can only happen if we have that maximum impact fund ready to go at a moment's notice, and it's getting a little low. So if you would, make a donation to mercury1.org, mercury1.org. Donate whatever you're able to do. It could be $1, it could be 100,000, whatever you have. Mercury1.org.
This is Glenn Beck.